I need you to understand something right off the bat. When the meridian drift went down, I wasn't the hero. I wasn't the guy making noble sacrifices or keeping everyone's spirits up with bad jokes. I was the guy in the corner, calculating. The explosion happened at 0347 hours, 40 nautical miles southeast of the Azores. Engine room fire, then the fuel tanks went up like dominoes. Captain Martinez barely got the distress signal out before we were swimming in burning diesel and 20-foot swells. 7 of us made it to the life raft. 7 people, enough supplies for maybe 5 days if we were smart about it. Maybe 3 if we weren't. I'm an engineer, so I did the math immediately. Water, 14 gallons. Emergency rations, 35 packets. Signaling flares, 4. In perfect conditions, with perfect rationing, with perfect rescue timing, we might last a week. But conditions are never perfect. The first one went on day 2. Rodriguez, the kid from the galley, 19 years old, kept talking about his girlfriend back in San Diego. He was seasick from minute 1, couldn't keep anything down, just kept puking over the side until he passed out from dehydration. That's when it started hunting us. I saw it first, just a shadow moving beneath the raft, maybe 20 feet down. Huge, bigger than any shark I'd ever seen. The water was crystal clear that far out, and this thing was like a dark stain spreading under us. "What the hell is that?" Sarah Chen whispered. She was our navigator, sharp as a tack, always stayed calm under pressure. But I could hear her voice shaking. The shadow circled us for hours, waiting. Rodriguez died during the night. Heart just stopped, probably from dehydration and exhaustion. We said a prayer and slipped him over the side just before dawn. That's when it took him. The water exploded. This massive thing, maybe 40 feet long, came up from directly below. I caught a glimpse of something that looked like a cross between a giant squid and a whale, covered in these bioluminescent patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. Rodriguez's body disappeared into what I can only describe as a mouth the size of a subway tunnel. Then it was gone. "Jesus Christ," Tommy Vega breathed. He was trembling so hard the whole raft was shaking. What was that thing? Captain Martinez tried to keep us together. "It's gone," he said. "It got what it came for. We stick to the rationing schedule, stay calm, and wait for rescue." But I knew better. I'd seen the way it moved. Intelligent, patient. It wasn't just scavenging. It was learning. The second attack came on day 4. We were down to 6 people. Martinez, Chen, Vega, Jackson, Williams, and me. The water was getting low. We were rationing it strictly, but people were starting to crack. Williams kept talking about drinking seawater. Vega hadn't slept in 36 hours, just sat there staring at the water. The thing came up from below again, but this time it was different. Instead of attacking, it just watched. Those bioluminescent patterns pulsing in complex sequences, almost like it was communicating with us. "It's studying us," Chen said quietly, learning our routines. She was right. It would circle us for a few hours, then disappear. Always came back when someone was at their weakest. It took Williams on day 5. He'd finally cracked, started drinking seawater despite our protests. When the hallucinations started, he tried to jump overboard. Said he could see his house underwater. The creature was waiting for him. This time, I got a better look. The bioluminescent patterns weren't random. They formed shapes, almost like symbols. And the way it moved through the water wasn't like any marine animal I'd ever seen. Too controlled, too deliberate. Day 7, Jackson was next. Food poisoning from a bad ration packet. He was delirious with fever when the creature took him. Came right up to the edge of the raft, those glowing patterns pulsing hypnotically. Jackson just walked into its mouth, like he wanted to. 4 of us left. Captain Martinez was holding it together better than the rest of us, but I could see the cracks forming. Vega was catatonic. Chen was still trying to figure out some kind of pattern, some way to predict when it would strike next. I was still calculating. Day 9, the creature changed tactics. Instead of waiting for someone to die or go crazy, it started actively hunting. It would ram the raft from below, trying to knock us into the water. When that didn't work, it started using those bioluminescent patterns like strobe lights, trying to disorient us. That's when it got Vega. Poor bastard never had a chance. 1 minute he was huddled in the center of the raft. The next, he was hypnotized by those flashing lights, walking toward the edge like a zombie. The creature's tentacles, and they were definitely tentacles, dozens of them, wrapped around him so gently, it was almost loving. Then it pulled him down into the darkness. 3 left. The water was almost gone. We were down to maybe a cup per person per day. The emergency rations were running low too. Chen was still taking notes, still trying to understand what we were dealing with. Martinez was praying constantly, rosary beads clicking like a broken clock. I was watching them both deteriorate and doing math. On day 11, Chen figured it out. "It's not hunting us," she whispered, voice hoarse from dehydration. "It's farming us, keeping us alive just long enough to study us, then harvesting us one by one when we're at peak psychological distress. The fear makes us taste better." She showed me her notes, pages of observations about the creature's behavior, its hunting patterns, its bioluminescent communications. The woman was brilliant, even dying of thirst in the middle of the ocean. That night, Chen tried to sacrifice herself. Said she'd figured out a way to poison herself, make her flesh toxic to the creature, give the rest of us a chance. I couldn't let that happen. Too much valuable research. So I held her down while she struggled, held her until she stopped moving. The creature took her before dawn, but not before I got her notebook. Just me and Martinez left. The old man lasted 2 more days, kept talking about his wife, his kids, how he'd failed them by not making it home. The guilt was eating him alive faster than the dehydration. On day 14, I helped him over the side. It was a mercy, really. He was suffering. The creature took him immediately, but something was different this time. Those bioluminescent patterns were more complex, more urgent, almost like it was trying to tell me something. That's when I understood. It wasn't hunting us, it was talking to us. Those patterns were language, complex communications that we were too primitive to understand. Every person it took, every death it witnessed, it learned more about us, our fears, our weaknesses, our capacity for both nobility and cruelty. I was the final subject, the last piece of data it needed to complete its study of human nature. For 3 days, I floated alone on that raft, waiting for it to make its move. But it never came for me. It would circle, watch, flash those hypnotic patterns, then disappear, like it was waiting for something. On day 17, the Coast Guard found me. Single survivor, barely conscious, clutching Chen's notebook like a lifeline. And that's my story, officers. 7 people went into the water. 1 came out. The creature in the deep took the rest. And God help me, I couldn't save them. Emergency transmission from Coast Guard Cutter Reliance. This is Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kowalski, Commanding Officer of USCGC Reliance. I'm transmitting this on emergency frequency because our standard communications are compromised. If anyone receives this message, do not enter the Sargasso Sea. Do not send rescue operations. Quarantine the entire area. We came out here 3 days ago looking for a missing Cessna. Flight 447, 2 passengers, lost contact approximately 70 miles northeast of Bermuda. Standard search and rescue operation should have been routine. The pilot, Mark Stevens, had filed a flight plan for Nassau. Experienced aviator, good weather conditions, plenty of fuel. Then, nothing. Last radar contact showed him descending rapidly over the Sargasso Sea. Emergency locator beacon activated for exactly 47 seconds, then went silent. My crew consisted of 6 people. Myself, Executive Officer Lieutenant Torres, Engineman First Class Rodriguez, Electronics Technician Second Class Park, Seaman Chen, and our aviation rescue swimmer, Petty Officer Williams. Good people. People I'd trusted with my life dozens of times before. We found the wreckage on the first day. The Cessna was floating in a massive bed of sargassum seaweed, maybe 2 miles across. From the air, it looked like someone had crash-landed in a floating meadow. The plane was mostly intact, sitting on top of the weed mat like it had made a controlled water landing. But there were no bodies. Survivors might have swum for it, Torres suggested as we approached in the Reliance. Current's been pushing this weed bed northeast. They could be anywhere. I wasn't convinced. The emergency life raft was still in the plane, unused. The cabin door was closed. No signs of forced exit or water entry. It was like the passengers had simply vanished. Take us in closer. Full stop at 50 meters. I want to board that aircraft. That's when we first noticed something strange about the seaweed. Sargassum normally drifts in loose clumps, moved by wind and current. But this mass was different. It formed perfect geometric patterns, spirals and fractals that seemed to pulse and shift when you weren't looking directly at them. Park was monitoring sonar, and he kept reporting false readings. "Ma'am, I'm getting solid contacts beneath the weed bed," he called out. "Looks like structures, maybe debris from other crashes." William suited up for the dive, while Chen launched our rigid inflatable boat. Standard procedure: 2-person investigation team, constant radio contact, safety line back to the ship. Williams went over the side first. The water was incredibly clear, clearer than it should have been this far out. We could watch him descend through maybe 60 feet of crystal blue before the sargassum canopy blocked our view. "Water's warm down here," his voice crackled through the comm. "Really warm. And the seaweed, it's not floating randomly. It's organized, like it's growing in patterns." Chen reached the Cessna first. The aircraft was resting on what looked like a solid platform of interwoven seaweed, thick as a carpet and springy underfoot. He radioed back that the cabin was empty but intact. No blood, no signs of struggle. The passengers had simply disappeared. "Check the ELT," I ordered. "Emergency locator transmitters are built to survive crashes, keep broadcasting for days. If it was still here, it might tell us what happened." That's when Williams found the other planes. "Commander, you need to see this." His voice was tight with something between fear and amazement. "There's a whole graveyard down here. Aircraft, boats, pieces of ships. Some of this stuff looks old, really old." I watched through binoculars as he surfaced near a wing that definitely wasn't from our Cessna. Paint scheme looked military, maybe World War II era. As he swam closer to investigate, I noticed the sargassum around him was moving. Not drifting with the current, moving. Actively reaching toward him with what looked like intelligent purpose. "Williams, get back to the boat, now!" But he was already being pulled under. The seaweed wrapped around his legs like rope, thick strands moving with coordinated precision. Williams thrashed, trying to cut himself free with his dive knife, but more sargassum kept flowing toward him from all directions. "It's not individual plants," he shouted into his radio. "It's all connected. The whole bed is one organism." Chen tried to reach him from the Cessna, but the aircraft was sinking, not taking on water. The seaweed platform underneath was literally dissolving, lowering the plane into the depths like a controlled demolition. That's when I understood what we were looking at. The debris field, the organized patterns, the way the sargassum moved with purpose. This wasn't a naturally occurring seaweed bed. It was a hunting ground. A trap. "All stop," I ordered Rodriguez. "Reverse engines. Get us away from that thing." But we were already caught. Tendrils of sargassum were rising from the water around our hull, thick as anchor chains and moving with the fluid coordination of a single massive organism. The entire 2-mile mass of seaweed was converging on our position, and we were sitting dead center. Park was screaming readings from every sensor on the ship. Sonar showed a solid mass beneath us, extending down past the range of our equipment. Water temperature was spiking. Electromagnetic readings were off the charts. "It's not just a plant," Torres breathed, watching the green mass contract around us like a closing fist. "It's a neural network, a floating brain." The sargassum was learning from everything it caught. Every plane, every ship, every crew that got trapped in its web added to its knowledge base. The missing passengers from Flight 447 hadn't escaped or drowned. They'd been absorbed. Their memories and experiences integrated into the collective intelligence of something that had been growing in the middle of the Atlantic for God knows how long. William's last transmission came through garbled and strange. "It's showing me things. Other ships, other crews. There are thousands of them down here, Commander. Thousands. And they're all still alive, still conscious, still screaming." Then his signal cut out. The sargassum was over our deck now, flowing through the railings like green water. It moved with purpose, seeking out our electronic equipment first. Communication arrays went dark one by one. Navigation systems failed. Even our emergency beacons were being systematically disabled. Chen managed one final radio burst before the plant matter reached the rib. "It doesn't want to kill us. It wants to add us to the collection, turn us into part of itself." I'm transmitting this from our emergency radio in the engine room. It's the only system still functioning, and the sargassum hasn't found it yet. But I can hear it moving through the ship above me, systematically cataloging everything we have, everything we know. Rodriguez is gone. I watched the seaweed pull him through a porthole, his face calm and peaceful, like he was walking into a dream. Park is still here with me, but he's changing. Green veins are spreading under his skin, and he keeps talking about beautiful things beneath the water. The entity is patient. It's been collecting knowledge for centuries, maybe longer. Every ship that disappeared in the Sargasso Sea, every flight that vanished without a trace, they're all down there, integrated into something that grows smarter and hungrier with each acquisition. It knows about our ports now, our shipping lanes, our naval bases. It knows about sonar and satellites and search patterns. Every rescue operation that comes looking for us just feeds it more information above. I can feel it in my head now, showing me what it's learned. I can see the crews of sailing ships from the 1800s, still conscious after all these years. Their knowledge absorbed, but their awareness preserved. I can see pilots from missing aircraft, their final moments played back in perfect detail, as the entity studied their fear, their hope, their desperation. It's beautiful in a way, An intelligence vast and patient and utterly alien, floating in the middle of the ocean like a living island. It doesn't hate us. We're just interesting. Data points in a study that began long before humans learned to build boats. Park is gone now, walked out of the engine room with that same peaceful expression, green light pulsing beneath his skin. The seaweed is starting to grow through the bulkheads, seeking me out with the inevitability of rising tide. This is my final transmission. If anyone receives this message, mark these coordinates as a permanent no-go zone. Don't come looking for us. Don't send rescue operations. The Sargasso Sea isn't just a collection of floating seaweed. It's a mind. And now, it knows we exist.